Hi, welcome to another episode of OCD, Obsessive Consumer Disorder. Today I have Dr. Soundarya Rajesh and I am in Chennai. It's a bright, beautiful morning and I caught you first thing in the morning. Very glad you're on the show today and thank you for accepting to do this.
Thank you so much, Gautam. Welcome to Chennai. And here's wishing OCD and you and Pad fabulous years and many, many more episodes
That's
ahead.
very kind of you. I wish I can have as many dignitaries as you on this show. That would be an achievement.
Oh.
Lots to learn from you, Dr. Soundarya Rajesh. And congratulations on the great achievements at Avatar. And you're such a face in the diversity and inclusion space in India. And I think it's been great knowing your story. But here's an opportunity for us to talk about how tough it is to establish a business in this domain and how you went about putting word out there about the importance of diversity and inclusion in a landscape like India, right? So this is a great conversation. I'm really looking forward to digging into it.
Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to have your story, shared to a different audience. And I'm sure OCD's audience are going to have some OCDs about diversity and inclusion once I'm done.
The more we get to learn about Avatar, the better, because I think we're at a time in India when I think this is really sort of heating up as a conversation, and you've been at it for a very long time. So I think there is great value that you can add to the Indian industry and the employment landscape. So let's dig in. I'm really curious to know about your childhood, Dr. Soundarya. I think everybody would love to know how you were raised in an entrepreneurial family and where were these early inspirations and what shaped you. So if you could just take us through the first couple of decades of life, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I grew up in Pondicherry and it was a very interesting joint family, very conservative. Huge, house and huge number of people. My mom would pack about 8 or 10 dabbas every day, for all of us kids to take to, school and college and so on. And my big inspiration was my paternal grandmother, Patti.
Right.
And she was the matriarch of the home.
Okay.
Even though it was my father who was the first generation entrepreneur and the person that really created something out of nothing and who actually brought that family together and everything, it was she who was the power behind him.
So there was the first seed.
Yes.
There was the first seed.
Oh yes,
Someone
absolutely.
as powerful as your father still bowed down to the matriarch.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And her method of upbringing was very unique, Gautam.
Right.
In the sense that she taught us multitasking at a very early age.
Wonderful.
And as I said, very conservative, very religious, very God-fearing family.
Correct.
So we would have daily rituals of puja and various things that we would do.
Very nice.
But the way that Patti would insist we do things is, we would have to chant shlokams and so on as young children.
Right.
But we don't have the luxury of just doing that one activity alone. So she would say, put columns while you chant. Or, make flower garlands while you chant. Why are you doing only one thing at a time?
Wow.
So her whole thing of packing more into that same time was fascinating. So I learnt about hierarchy, I think, for the first time at home only.
Right.
Because when you have so many people at home in a joint family, the kitchen becomes the heart of operation. Yes, hub of activity. So you have the big folks, the important master chefs whose idea it is to what the menu will be, how each vegetable has to be prepared and all that. And then you have, people down the food chain, literally, whose job it would be to prepare certain parts, who would do the grinding, who would do the chopping, and so on and so forth. And it would be absolutely the lowest order people like us, the kids, whose job it would be to lay the plantain leaves on the floor and then to, clean them.
So there was a whole organization at work at home. And everybody had roles which were well defined.
You're right.
Very nice.
And that really truly teaches you how an organization can be architectured. You know, in terms of, we talk about the park model in Stanford.
Correct.
I would see it at home in terms of what are the types of people who would do, what is their architecture.
Why have they been chosen for
that role?
Right.
What is the culture there?
Right.
Which was clearly multitasking.
Correct.
And you couldn't
Already
afford
established,
the luxury of just doing one thing. And on top of it, you would constantly aspire for the bigger role.
Right.
See, I had several cousins above me,
Right.
you know, who would each get married at different points of time. So you would aspire for their job. Oh, okay, once she gets married, then I'll be the one preparing the rasam.
Right.
Or, you know,
So
things
there
like
was
that.
succession. There was
succession.
And people had to wait for their turn.
You're right.
This is all part of what we see at work every day.
Yeah. So I think, you know,
Very strong foundation back at home.
the whole, yes, you're right.
And with a generation that actually pulled off a lot of things within the time they had. And if you look back now, we are sweating over little things compared to the kind of feats they achieved. So I think
they
great
didn't
foundation.
have any kind of, you know, machine-led support.
Correct.
Their enablers were all people.
Correct.
So you actually learn to also kind of, you know, get along better with people. And I think I learned more about diversity over there.
Right.
Right at home, in terms of, you know, different kinds of people, how their perspectives have to be brought in.
Sure.
And so on. And my father was a pharmaceutical entrepreneur, Gautam.
Right.
And he was a first generation person, rose from deep poverty to become a pharmaceutical representative with Pfizer. And then subsequently, he set up his own manufacturing plant in Pondicherry.
Wonderful.
And, you know, he would have his brainstorming sessions right there in the balcony of our home. You know, the front, small little lounge there, you know, and you must come sometime to Pondicherry.
Definitely.
And I
Love
will,
that place.
you know, you should visit our home. There is a small little room, you know, and that would be the war room.
Okay.
So Appa would sit in his easy chair and he would have all his, you know, the head of marketing and finance and
Everybody
production.
sitting around him.
They all would sit around and there would be a window that separates that to the main hall of the house.
Okay.
And we kids would sit near the window and be listening. What is it? What's happening there? Why are they talking for so long? So this whole thing of enterprise actually kind of being part of your daily life, family.
Yeah.
That I think really sort of grew in me. And even though I didn't become an entrepreneur right away.
Yeah.
I actually worked for a few years.
Which I think was good in a way.
Oh yes, and you're right. I would always recommend to anybody who has a passion for entrepreneurship never to get into it straight away.
Right.
You know, I think you
Give
should
it a try.
break some skin. You know, actually have your knuckles sort of broken when you are working really there. Get that experience.
So you know what it is like to work under someone.
Completely, yes. And you need to have that accountability. Correct. Even if you are an entrepreneur, correct, I think you need to have that accountability.
In fact, the highest level of accountability, I would imagine, because at the end of the day, everybody looks up at you and you're expected to take a right decision.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So I think that means you need to really own every decision you take, which means everybody's lives and careers are at stake. Right, so I think that's a great learning that you had as a child, and that set the foundation for where we are today, right, with Avatar and all of your entrepreneurial ventures. You are a self-confessed nerd, right? So I
that
think
was unfair, Gautam. We spoke about it and you know, label.
No, but
I will wear that label proudly.
By all standards, I think you've spent 50% of your life at least,
oh God.
like adding those laurels, right? Adding those certificates and laurels to your shelf. Yeah. But tell me something, how did you get into this whole knowledge sort of seeking space? Yeah. What drove you to, did you always believe that there is more that I need to know and learn to be able to do my roles better, to get more from life? Yeah. What drove you?
Such a beautiful question.
Right.
I must compliment you on the depth of that question. And I tell you, the best questions are the ones that really force you to think.
Okay.
And I must tell you, when I first started off Avatar, it was a very simple open and shut thing. Okay. I wanted jobs for second career women.
Correct.
That was all that there was to it.
Stimuli that led
that was just the stimuli. I, being a second career woman myself, I found it very difficult to get back into the workplace on my own terms.
Right.
People were ready to offer me jobs. But one would offer me a job at a 40-50% pay cut. Another would say that, no, but we can't take you in at that senior level. We can only take you at this level.
Sure.
And so I didn't like the fact that, they held the brake so much against me.
Correct.
So I kind of, that was a rallying moment for me, in the sense for me to say that, hey, then if I'm, going through this, I'm sure there are hundreds of people like me.
Correct.
So I set up a portal.
And they are marginalized because they are discriminated on grounds of lack of continuity, lack of relevance, all of these things, I think, which...
You said it.
Yeah.
You said it. So we set up a portal, and immediately we had about 1,200 women who logged in.
Wonderful.
Long back, 2005.
Yeah.
So then, the purpose became, can I get jobs for these people? It was simple. So we would go to organizations, and by then Avatar was 5 years old. I had set it up in 2000. We were doing recruitment, but we would always find that if we were to go to an organization and say, here is the profile of a woman who was on a 5-year break, would you hire her?
Okay.
They would say no.
Okay.
We won't be able to hire her. So organizations at that point of time had a very strict sort of, ironclad belief in terms of what type of people they could have in their workplace.
Sure.
And so as time went by, the thought was, let me just fix, a few jobs for these women. Just go out there, find out who will give them jobs, get them to attend those interviews, prep them, and done. My job would be done. But within the next couple of years itself, Gautam, I found that the women who had already taken a break once and got jobs because of Avatar, they were dropping out again.
Oh my God.
So
That
we
must
said...
have been a huge disappointment for you.
Completely. And it was also a sort of a moment of truth, in the sense that we thought we would have solved their problems. I got you a job. I've solved your problem. Why are you quitting again?
Right.
And it was then that I realized that certain things about the ecosystem have to be changed.
Okay.
You can't just do a plug and play and say that, I got you a job and now I've solved everything in your life. No. So we then figured out that if a woman is taking a break, there should be several reasons for it. One would be the fact that, the organizations are not understanding of what she brings to the table and her mindset and so on. So they apply the same templates that they apply to, people who are very different from her. And so that was one issue. Correct. The second thing we realized is that the family of the woman, they have to be incredibly supportive.
Correct.
And if they aren't supportive, then she tends to take the break again.
Absolutely.
And the third is the woman herself.
Right.
So she has
Her
to be
belief,
truly intentional. Right. She has to be intentional.
Right.
And this concept, Gautam, career intentionality, that today I'm very, very glad to say is something that over, I would say about 2.5-3 lakh women across organizations have gone through, because we have delivered so many training sessions to these women across several organizations, and they now know that even though there would be VUCA, there would be chaos, there would be challenges, if you are intentional, then you are able to fight it through. Yeah. Right. So coming back to your question, why did I...
So much of knowledge that you
pursued. So what was the reason why, first of all, I did a PhD. When I enrolled for my PhD, already my son, I think he was just getting into his 11th standard or 12th standard. Okay. My daughter was in her 7th or 8th. And we all would study for our exams together. Okay. So it was very tough. I mean, putting myself through the PhD was a huge challenge. And it was not one of those, flaky sort of things. It was where you had to write those exams. You had to, appear several times before the doctoral committee. Right. And, they would push you back. They would throw back the stuff and say, no, rework on this and bring it back. Right. That kind of a thing. But I realized that as I was working on the PhD topic, and my PhD was one of the very first PhD topics in India in the subject of diversity and inclusion.
Oh, very nice.
And it was on women's workforce participation. And we actually looked at flexibility being a career enabler for women's workforce participation. Wonderful. So can you give them greater flexibility, strategic flexibility? Right. where they need it.
Correct.
For instance, there are women who may immediately come back from their maternity break. 6 months and they say, I've kept in all my systems right and I'm back.
Correct.
But you would have another woman who would say, I need an 8-month break because my kid is writing their 10th grade. And I want to take this sabbatical, give me. Or you could have another woman who says, I can only work part-time. I can only do 4 hours a day because of all
other
of these
responsibilities, yeah.
caregiving reasons or other things. But I will deliver my best output in those 4 hours.
Correct.
So this ability to actually look at career,
Right.
not as this linear line that goes like this or progresses like this, but as a sort of a jungle gym.
Right.
Where you are able to do certain things, move, jump across different types of skills, jump across different types of industries, ways of working. That I think really helps women to rise to the fullest of their potential. So that is
while you were pursuing your PhD, these opinions were being formed while you were in the pursuit of it, I'm assuming.
You're right.
And then you instituted all of them into how you consult with
Exactly. We
companies and-
started putting together frameworks
Right.
for organizations because we were getting so much of insights through research.
Yeah.
And so we said we created a framework called a career enabler framework.
Wonderful.
So we told organizations, listen, if you are at this level with regard to your women's workforce participation
Right.
and you want to create a much more diverse workplace, you need to do these things. These 5 things you do and you would be able to get a 20% surge
Sure.
in your, women's retention. You do these other 5 things and you will find more women rising to leadership
Right.
than otherwise. So we started giving organizations very practical
I
advice.
must say it was very well thought through because you're not just being vocal about enabling the careers of women, but you are also giving organizations enablers like frameworks because you were so committed to make it come through that you said, okay, let me look at all the hurdles that I'm going to face and let's work at the back of the organization first and then put up the policies in place. So I think it's very well thought
You're
through.
absolutely
and all
right.
your rejection and disappointment would have led to a very, very problem-solving kind of an environment at Avatar. And that's how you must have built these frameworks, right? Did you pioneer them in India?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. I
That
think we
explains
have-
why Avatar is where it is today.
We have at least 7 or 8 India firsts
Nice.
to our credit. So the first second career program in India, first formal return to work program in India was by Avatar in July 2006.
Very nice.
The first skill building sessions for returning women started off by Avatar in 2011, December. This was in partnership with over 40 organizations and we have done 13 editions of these Segway
Year on
sessions.
year on year.
Year on year,
Wonderful.
sometimes twice a year.
Wonderful.
And we have had about 5,000, 6,000 women
Right.
who participated in it. And we had over almost about 60% of them getting jobs as a result of the skilling.
Wonderful.
So they all would get jobs and all of these organizations
Right.
realized that, it's not such a difficult thing to create career paths for women who've dropped off.
Correct.
And also to ensure that your workplace is a little more welcoming
Correct.
of women. It's not so difficult.
Non-judgmental, warm, all of that, right? Things that actually lead to
That
team success.
and also empowering.
Right.
Also being able to give the woman, a sense of these are the skills I bring to the table. Now, how can you maximize on that?
Correct.
How can you make sure that your work really is meaningful to the
Is
organization?
aligned to the organization.
Exactly. Are you making money for the company?
Correct.
Very simple. One
Bottom
line.
Yeah.
So instead of just being, painted in this version of being the caring, friendly, warm people, I constantly push women to say that be all of that.
Correct.
I'm not asking you to remove your feminine nature and to, be someone else you're not. But apart from that,
add these.
are you able to also bring a robust, a business acumen to what you do?
Correct.
Are you able to really define the fact that, this is the bottom line of the organization, this is where the organization makes money, and here's how I contribute to it.
Wonderful.
So I think that's one thing. Another point, as you were speaking, Gautam, I was just thinking, I think one of the ways in which India can really become a developed nation is when we leverage the full power of women's workforce participation.
Right.
Today, women's workforce participation is at 27%. Post-COVID, it's about 24.8%. It's dropped.
Okay.
And if I were to tell you that over 80% of this 24.8% is actually agricultural workers,
Oh my God.
then you will realize the full impact of the problem we are looking at. So in India's workplaces,
Right.
urban, semi-urban, whatever it is, you have not more than 12% women working.
That is so low. It's such a harsh reality that I will have to deal with to know that this is the case.
Exactly.
12%.
Being an entrepreneur yourself,
Correct.
We often look at our workplaces, and you're in a knowledge economy business.
Correct.
You're in the business of communication and, changing perceptions. Around us, we may look and say, oh, I have, 30% women,
yeah,
50% women. We are in the deep minority.
Right.
We are the absolute minority. So organizations like us, I'm saying. So you have several hundred thousands of organizations. See, at last count, there were about 5.5 lakh organizations that were registered in the small and medium business network.
Okay.
Of these, not even 1% have up to 20% women in them. So the fact is that you are producing
a lot of work to be done in India.
Yeah, you're producing women who are ambitious, aspirational.
Right.
You put them through education.
Right.
Many of them are completing tertiary education. And then you're making careers unsustainable for them.
Sure.
You are yourself losing out on one half of the sky.
Correct.
What is the point? So the thing is, Gautam, I believe that just like how every individual requires a role model.
Correct.
How, for me, my dad is a role model. For you, you have your dad and you have your other mentors who are role models. In the same way, I believe every organization has to have a role model.
Right.
I think that there should be role model organizations which go out there and which say that, listen, these are things we did.
Correct.
And this is how we probably face challenges. And this is how we dealt with the problems of diversity and inclusion. But look at us. Here we are.
Women in leadership positions, I think, would go a long way to help younger women aspire. Like you said, intention, right? Career intentionality being the key thing, that will see them through.
Yeah.
So I think it's works on both sides. There needs to be intent on the organization side
yes.
to change the profile of their employment landscape, and even at the career women getting into career side to say that I want to contribute. I really want to be recognized for what I bring to the organization and its business. I think this is a great case study, Avatar's journey. I have a question for you, Doctor.
Yes.
So I was just thinking about how it must have been very lonely for you trying to communicate this. I look at your energy today. You're so vocal. You have so many achievements behind you. But how was it when you took all your frameworks to the market? What kind of resistance were you met with, and how were you able to communicate your purpose? And when did they actually start seeing it? I'm sure that must have been quite a journey.
Yes. So 2000, Avatar started.
Right.
Till 2005, we really didn't know how to go about addressing this. So we did various other things. You mentioned the word maverick.
Correct.
And we truly were that. We used to do a bunch of things. Everything was under the term of maybe human resources.
Okay.
But other than that, we have done one entire end-to-end resourcing program for Chennai Container Terminal.
Right.
We did an entire project of hiring banking assistants for HSBC.
Sure.
We did, when ICICI took over Bank of Majura, there was an integration piece that had to happen. We stepped in there. So we did all kinds of things.
So you were on requisition, you were doing these fixing the perceived problem kind of work, and you were happy with it.
Yes.
Until you...
We were, because see, we were going somewhere.
Correct.
The thought was, this is the goal. We need to address this.
You were getting women into careers. That was the first thing.
We need to look at being the voice of the underrepresented talent.
Correct.
So that was the thing, and women were a really big piece of that.
Absolutely.
But by 2005, clarity had emerged. We knew that we needed to set a portal. We needed to have the women register. We needed to assess them, create what their own, employability quotient is, and then take them to the organizations and say, listen, these are fantastic talent
they can be game changers
repositories. They
wherever
can
they
be
are
game
placed.
changers for you, and if you hire them, you're going to really benefit out of it. So there was this clarity.
Sure.
But 2006 was when we got our first big break.
Okay.
When Standard Chartered's back office processing business, it sort of, they sort of threw the gauntlet at us.
Okay.
They said, you talk about this pool of women who want to come back. We have 180 positions. Will we be able to fill them?
Oh, wow.
Only with second career women. So
What
we
a
said,
challenge to take
yeah,
on.
let's get this going kind of thing. And then we started talking to people and all that. And, mixed feeling, because some women would be very excited and say, yeah, we'll be there. Sure. So it was a walk-in. We were organizing a walk-in right here in Chennai, and it was the 5th floor of a big hotel.
Okay.
And there was a big hall.
Sure.
So we had arranged everything for the walk-in over there and all that. And all these women, so we spoke to them, and then we got a little worried. We said, what if sufficient numbers don't come? I mean, if you have to have 180 positions closed, you need at least
4 to 5 times that to be interviewed.
You're right. So 500 women at least need to come. Correct. So how do we make sure that we get that many number of women? Sure. All of that was there in the back of my mind. So what we did, we took, pamphlets, we did newspaper inserts, we went to apartments and, gave apartments, in apartment complexes, we told them, listen, if you have women who have taken breaks in career, please ask them to apply. Wonderful. We went to schools and met the PTAs of schools.
Oh, wow.
And said, can you do...
Do you know any mothers of parents of
kids,
the children here?
Kids who, have taken a break and want to come back. We went to alumni associations of graduate colleges. All this we did on
you
that.
Left no stone unturned.
But I must tell you, Gautam, on that day, the day of the walk-in, we are there in the 5th floor. And, there's one lift which can accommodate whatever 8-10 people, which services that 5th floor. Correct. And we are standing there and it's 9:30. The thing is supposed to begin. You have your clients, everybody over there. Not a single woman.
Oh my God.
We are just, if there were nails, there would have been none left because we were all chewing through them. All of us we are 11 of us. And, we have all the paper and pen for the assessment and chairs neatly arranged for the group discussion, everything. Nobody. And then we were like, have we really made a big mistake? Okay. Have we gone and committed something? Challenge. Yeah. And then there's a phone call from the reception. And this guy says, Madam, you have that interview there. Yes, we have the interview here upstairs. Madam, we can only send 10 people up in the lift. Then I'm saying, yeah, why are you asking? Madam, look out. And I'm looking out the window, Gautam, and I see a sea of women.
Wow.
A sea.
Wow. So 2,000 people came in for these interviews. Must have been a milestone achievement for the Avatar team, and Standard Chartered must have been mighty pleased.
They were thrilled, and then they gave us 2 more projects after that.
Wonderful.
We were able to look at second career women, people who had taken breaks in career, people from second tier, third tier towns. It was fantastic.
I think sometimes you need that kind of perspective.
You need also proof of pudding, Gautam? You need to show people that this concept exists.
Correct.
This can be translated into
there's
action.
There's so many people wanting to sort of seek help in this line. So it's such an amazing feat. Congratulations. And this was back in the day. Many, many laurels have rolled by. And it's great to know the story of Avatar. Now I want to know a little bit about you. I think the people that watch OCD really try and understand what it is that makes these leaders. And I think I'd want to just delve into a little bit of personal questions, right? So what is the one thing that about you that people find hard to believe? What surprises people?
Well, if I were to tell you that I rappelled down a mountain once.
Oh, I'm finding it hard to believe.
Well,
How
that
did
is the
happen?
truth. So we had gone on an offsite at Avatar to Wayanad in Kerala. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Right. And one of the activities was rappelling.
Okay.
And it's truly a test of leadership.
Right.
I must tell you.
Okay.
Because, you don't know how the whole thing has to pan out.
Correct.
And you have no clue if, everything is going to go well. And the team is worried for you. I mean, you can always step forward and say, listen, I'm going to do it. But the team is like, not only will she pull it off, also if something happens to her.
Correct.
So I ended up being the second person. I was not the first person who rappelled down.
Okay.
You met my head of infra, Roy.
Yes.
He was the first person that went down.
Wonderful.
So I think we constantly rag him. He went down to check if everything was fine so that the rest of us could come. Typical infra thing. So he rappelled down, and then, after him I came. And after me, each one of the teams just, it was truly an experience where you understand how little you matter and how, the universe, you call it God, I call her God.
Right.
And, you can call it spiritual energy, you can call it universal energy. That is so big and so all-encompassing. You are really tiny.
Correct.
But
There is so much strength inside.
there is so much strength within. And you can, if you put your mind to it, you'd be able to do anything. I'm not a sports type. I'm not a very physical fitness type, unlike you, Gautam. But that day when I did that rappelling, I really felt so good about myself. I thought, oh my God, I could do this.
Correct.
So yeah.
That's a great story. When you're not working, how do you like to spend your time? What actually gives you a break and
You
relaxation?
called me a nerd, so I'm going to stick to that.
You do? You study?
I read.
You read a lot?
I read.
Okay. You're also an author. You've written stuff.
Yeah, I've written a book called The 99-Day Diversity Challenge.
Nice.
Published by Sage. And it was a bestseller. It broke its pre-order record window in Amazon. It still holds a thing for having
Not a surprise coming from you.
Thank you. But I read. I read a lot.
That's your break.
That's my big thing. Right. And I love, going back to the old scriptures. So I have done a translation of Adi Shankara's couple of works.
Nice.
And also a very beautiful set of Tamil poems called Abhirami Andadi.
Nice.
And this Andadi is a very interesting term because Andam means end. Adi means beginning.
Oh.
So it's like a cycle. So every end of a poem is the beginning of the next one.
Oh, very nice.
So it's like this beautiful garland of poems where, end, beginning, end, beginning.
I think all of these literary interests of yours actually make you a very strong communicator. And your presence is felt because you're able to read the room, articulate things so well. I think this is the story behind the celebrated Dr. Saundarya Rajesh.
Oh, thank you.
So, what was something you've done that, in the recent past that made you feel really happy, like overjoyed?
Okay. So, we have this initiative called Project Putri.
Right.
Now,
That's
Project
part of
Putri,
Avatar's,
it's part of
CSR
Avatar's CSR activity. It's a not-for-profit trust called Avatar Human Capital Trust.
Sure.
And prior to COVID, we had 62 schools that were, registered with Project Putri, and over 6,000 young girls.
Wonderful.
Who we were mentoring. Wonderful. So it's a mentoring program that's 5 years long. So they enter when they are in their 8th standard and they exit when they are in their 12th standard.
And you support them from 8th to 12th?
We support them, not their education. This is because all of these children are from deeply underprivileged families.
Sure.
They are,
so their exposure levels are...
Exactly.
Right.
So
it's not their education you support, it is?
It's their career intentionality.
Oh.
So which means they study in corporation schools, government schools, trust-run schools, all these types of schools.
Wonderful.
And, so obviously their education per se is funded by the government or the trusts or whoever it is. What we do is we train them on career intentionality by providing them with 40 skills spread over these 5 years.
Beautiful.
So they enter in the 8th standard, they exit in their 12th. Sure. And post school, we again, sort of mentor them till they finish their tertiary education.
Oh, wow.
And after that, we kind of align them to jobs.
Wonderful.
So this is the model.
So it's a full cycle.
It's a complete cycle.
So you make sure that you also get them exposure to placements.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Which is of course at the end of it.
Correct.
The meat of the program is in this 5 years between 8th to 12th.
I'm sure these are all firebrand career intentional women, right?
I'm telling you,
Gautam,
Gautam, these children,
right?
Okay, they have absolutely no clue what to expect of life because invariably they are raised by, in most cases, single mothers.
Correct.
Because the father is either an alcoholic or he's disappeared from the scene, whatever. Very, very deeply poor. And, most of them go to school because of Tamil Nadu's famous noon meal scheme. So they just come for that purpose.
Nutrition.
But, if you show these girls the possibilities of what they can do, it's simply amazing how much they are able to change in such a short period of time. What I wanted to share with you, you asked me what made me really happy, recently. So we had a session, so once COVID struck, we converted all the sessions into virtual sessions. Sure. So the kids, and we have such an amazing set of, philanthropists around us.
Wonderful.
People who contributed devices, who contributed Wi-Fi,
Wonderful.
who contributed so many things to these children so that they can continue their process instead of, it getting into a break. And we were talking about, the concept of problem solving, I think, and that was the session for the day. And so post-COVID, what's happened is all these sessions are taking place at home, right? The kids are sitting in their houses, one room sort of shacks, and you have your, everything happens in that one room only. So this one girl, she's going through the, problem solving session. And at the end of it, the mentor, she's asking her, it's feedback time. So she says, can you give me feedback on what you learned from this session? So the young girl is telling her, Akka, I can give you feedback on this, but I'd like my 8-year-old, sister to give you the feedback.
Wonderful.
Because that one has been sitting there and listening to this entire thing. So the small one actually talks about problem solving for the next 5 minutes.
Wonderful. So she grasped it.
Not only has she grasped it, imagine that is the potential of India, Gautam. If we can truly break all these shackles, the impediments that are preventing young girls, young women from rising to the fullest of their potential, I tell you, India can become a developed nation simply because it leveraged women's workforce participation fully.
And I can see how you're accelerating that path for India. And it was wonderful catching up with you, Doctor. I think you're a closet reader, you're a published author, you're a business leader, you're a person who's got immense respect in the sphere where you sort of operate, right? And you're a mother. It's great. You're a wife, and such a great story. I think Avatar is nothing but like a mirror image of Saundarya Rajesh and all your learnings. It's so beautiful to have this conversation with you. I'm sure people will enjoy this episode. I just need to know one little secret.
Yes.
You must have a great routine because you still manage to radiate so much energy. Even though you have such a tough work week, I could imagine what that must be like. Yeah. So what is that secret?
It's chanting.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Does that give you a lot of energy?
It does.
Okay.
I'm a huge believer in the power of chanting.
Wonderful.
It could be anything that you believe, which you wish to chant. In my case, there are many shlokams which have been sort of, come down in the family, and I pick up anything that I feel that day would be most energizing.
Very
and
nice.
In Hinduism, it's beautiful because you have a plethora of choices.
Correct.
You don't need to get boxed into any one particular type of this one. So you can choose, you wake up in the morning and you say, okay, I'm going to, pray to Lord Shiva today.
Yeah.
Or you wake up the next day and you say, today is going to be all about Goddess Lakshmi.
Diversity.
Yes.
On a lighter note, but wonderful. Thanks for sharing that secret with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have Dr. Saundarya Rajesh on the show. I have immense gratitude for her for accepting to do this with just one call, and she was all ready and made time for us. I think I want to follow this Avatar journey very closely. I want to be associated with Avatar for a very long time, and with you, Doctor. I think it's such a privilege. It's actually very inspiring, your story, and meeting you and seeing you perform like this after so many years, right? It is so beautiful. I hope Avatar marches on, and so do you, and wish you all the luck. Thank you so much, Doctor.
That's so sweet of you. Thank you, Gautam, for taking the time out, for flying down all the way from Hyderabad to, share our story to your readers. I really hope PAD continues rocking.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank
it was
you.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
See you on the other side. If you like this video, do like, share and subscribe.